So how come everyone telling us how to think and what to think look like the same people, and they ban you if you speak of them and talk about the people who own the media? And how are they tell us we're inventing the world through our thoughts and stuff, which, like, wow, that's really hard for me not to argue because it looks like they're inventing whole cities before my eyes. But, you know, how do they get in that position there where they are in control of everything, and why is it so important that we never talk of them and they ban us or any book or kill any person who talks to them? Shouldn't that matter? Like, I've tested their little karma and their world nonsense, and that works sometimes. Like, I can create stuff before me to a certain sense. But I think the world is just like speaking to me, and I don't think any of them really are aware that they're like being set up to be taken down. And so I really think that's what it's about. But the only thing that really matters is, why are they banning and censoring people? Anyone who speaks to them is not allowed there. That's why you don't know. That's why there's not a single debate about who controls the media. And they say, this dude's a white supremacist, even though he looks like kind of Middle Eastern there. Maybe like he's a white person who his family were whites who invaded the Middle East and then raped their children and had children with their children and produced something like that. Which, I mean, if you know what I'm talking about, that sounds like a perfect fitting story about they bragged about and they're doing currently again, and they bragged they're going to do a third time and it'll be the final time. So, how come those people own all the media? How come, like, no one else is allowed to own any media? How come there's no black media and they bought up the black media? And then why when Spielberg sells his films, no, it's not Spielberg, Lucas. When Spielberg is obviously, that's one of their names. And George Lucas looks like him, but anyways, George Lucas mentioned that, and he got in trouble for that, kind of, and in fact, the owner of Fox News, which still uses the Illuminati symbolisms and stuff, mentioned that. And Elon Musk mentioned, we know who controls the media, but Elon Musk obviously looks like them. He comes from apartheid South Africa, and his family owns mines, which probably aren't their property in the first place. And he said, we know who owns them, but like you could tell when he said that, he was also saying, but I can't say that. So why is that? Why is that? Shouldn't that be important? Who's telling you what? Like, when someone tells me something, it matters who it is. If this person has sat in their house and done nothing their whole life and just watched Jerry Springer, I will take that person's word as nothing outside of understanding that person can be possessed by a higher power, and they'll speak with me through that. But even that, I didn't rely on that or see that for like 38 years. So I didn't understand. I could sit down with someone who does nothing and has experienced almost nothing, and they can speak to me about things they've never seen and actually know what they're talking about sometimes. But some of these people don't know what they're talking about. Like the recent person who told me they were from Sandusky, Ohio, when I told them I'm from Ohio, and I asked them, how's the amusement park doing, and they didn't know which amusement park was in their city. Clearly they are not from Sandusky, Ohio, because that's the only reason you would even go to Sandusky, Ohio. That's the only reason anyone knows what it is. And so he didn't know that, but he told me some other stuff that's important too, so I had to like sort out the lies and stuff he was telling me. And I think it's the same way with these other people. You have to sort out the lies they're telling you, and the omissions are the most important. Like Alex Jones was caught behind the scenes saying we can't ever talk of the Zionists, or basically he loses everything, and then he eventually gets rich because he doesn't do what he's not supposed to do, and he does everything except that, and he gets rich, although he's probably already part of them. His studio is like, he lives in a Mossad hometown. His studio is right around the corner from Stratford Mossad, and Jackson card games, which make the Illuminati card games, are right there around him as well. So it's just like a whole base there of propaganda in Texas, and they claim now they're against the COVID and all that. And I told you, like, watch out for Florida and Texas being controlled opposition, Stalinistic opposition to the Bolshevik revolution. Pretty much looks like that's what's repeating itself. And, I try to change my mind as much as they tell me to and everything. But at the end of the day, they're the ones censoring me in the media. And until that ends, until we take control of the media, just take everything they say as a lie. Until we get people in the media who are telling us the names and addresses of the people who own the media, which will put them in a state where they feel they should be more responsible with what they say, and their bloodlines too, because I don't think the names and the address matter. Tell them who their families are and where their families live. That'll put them in a state where they feel more responsible. But by the time you take over the media, I believe, someone would have figured that out. But then again, people think the internet is real and it's the most controlled thing there is, and they can rewrite it, entire history. I mean, the whole world is being rewritten. So it's not just the internet, but the internet's easier to rewrite than it is to rebuild cities and make it look like that city existed 200 years ago. So at the end of the day, really, I think that's all that matters, is understanding why these people hide who they are and have to lie about it. There's no good people who lie and hide about who they are. Like this symbol right here, this dude's throwing up. Why are they lying when that was 6 years ago? That was known as 666 symbol. And why are they lying and saying that guy's like European when he doesn't look very European? And so he's like a Middle Easterner throwing up a white supremacist sign. And we need to hate the right wing because a Middle Easterner shot another Middle Easterner, invaders of the Middle East too, because they look like half. They look like half the people invaded the Middle East and the other half who actually populate that area. And so, like, they're not being honest. They're not allowing honesty on YouTube and stuff. It's all mind control propaganda. And one of the biggest tools seems to be to tell you to stay peaceful and sit down and do nothing while they just rape your children and take over your nations and kill your people off. And, of course, they don't say it like that, but, I mean, they don't say nothing they say is true. So, if they're not telling you they're raping children, they probably are. If they're not telling you they're behind these riots and revolution, they probably are. If they're not telling you who owns the media, then it's probably not good people who owns the media. Stuff like that. Like, pretty much what they don't say is most important. And, above all that, like, there's something about me. Like, why are they hiding me? What's so important that they have to hide me from the media and not put me in the media? Who knows? Maybe they're setting me up to be part of their little storyline they've already created to help conquer the world as controlled opposition. And then that'll be their excuse for killing off the population. One half is devils and the other half is good people and blah, blah, blah. Satan took over, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know if they know what they're talking about, though, because after interrogating and investigating the humans for 40 years, I've learned that they don't understand what's going on. They're unwilling. They're lying. At the very most, they're lying about understanding what's going on and not saying everything they know. And then the other ones as well, who have a history of lying and not saying everything they know, they also seem to not understand. Although a couple have come by my car when they destroyed my car last time, and doing the Illuminati symbols and stuff. And it was funny because like 2 weeks later, he came back and his face was swollen and his eye was busted. And it made me think of like the curse I put on people who come and step in my path. How sometimes a lot of people come and step in my path have like really bad things happen to them. Like I can get assaulted and you can't even tell really. But I've seen people who are like been bashed badly come up to me and try to use me, and they look like these people. The one obviously used the Illuminati signs and was drawing them. And I've kind of like marked people, just like the masks mark people, and the vaccines are marking people, and people are like, why is that? Why are the bad things allowed to happen and stuff? And it's just like, you know, why, why does Mario kill Goombas? Why does Mario hunt Koopa? Why did God create Goombas and Koopa if they're so bad? Really, I think that's what it boils down to. I'm not sure if anyone else here really understands, even though, there's this group in control at high level. At high levels, I don't think they really understand this stuff, because they're the one. Just because they're the ones teaching me, doesn't mean anything. I ask for my enemies to work for me, and so I have to understand that the world isn't what it seems, and I can use different sorts of magics, and so it actually gets confusing me for me sometimes. Like, is the New World Order working for me? Are they going to poison all the government worshippers with a vaccine? Everyone who worships the government is taking this vaccine. Everyone who worships the government and gives money to the government who's been genociding the rest of the planet, they are taking the vaccine. So sometimes I even wonder, is the New World Order even that bad? Because they're actually like doing something. I mean, you could say they're evil and it's being twisted to doing something good, but I mean that's what it is. That's what it's boiling down to. They're locking out everyone who doesn't worship the government, and it marks the people. It puts a big red X on people's head who worships the government, and some of them are dying and having problems because they worship the government. And then the doctors are pretty much, and scientists are pretty much like terrorists, dope dealers who have been genociding Arabs to jack up their opium prices and resell it and buy mansions and fancy cars. So if they take that vaccine and it's poison, if they take that, I mean, it's going to be vaccine after vaccine after vaccine. They're just going to slowly do it. They're probably slowly targeting different DNAs. That way no one notices. And, so people ask why bad stuff happens. It's like they're kind of being allowed to. I almost feel like positive sometimes about it. I mean, I don't, because I'm the largest victim here of society shutting down when I'm running a campaign and trying to talk about these people, and then they shut the people I'm talking about, shut the society down, so I can't talk to people about them. But at the end of the day, you gotta look at it this way: the people who are buying into this stuff, they're taking those poisons. So it's like if Hitler had told people to step into the gas chamber for their health, which he did. He told them to step into the gas chamber to get deloused, right? That's how the fairy tale goes. And, it's like in the mask thing, it's like if he would have told them to put a star on their chest to identify their self for their health. But he did do the gas chamber thing for everyone's health, so it gets hard. I understand the base story here, evil alien race controls the world, but sometimes it's hard to look at them as evil. I mean, even Jeffrey Epstein, he used pedophilia to take over all these terrorist governments, and what is he doing? He's taking out these nations, and he's going to destroy them. That's the whole point of his evidence gathering on all the leaders of the world, is because he's going to run the empire into the ground. He's going to run Europe and USA and Australia. Those are going to get ran into the ground, aren't they? That's the only reason that information was even needed. And that's what's happening, right? They've been reduced to almost nothing, and their people become weak and lazy. And so the other nations who have been enslaved, slaves become strong and intelligent because they have to work hard and work harder. And so, sometimes I'm just looking at it wow, that's a great plan. But it's already been written out. So you got to question, who wrote that stuff, and if that's actually the positive stuff, the positive route to go. But But right there, I mean, that's the point right there. How come I'm not allowed to tell you who is behind this? And I can tell you all these stupid names, the Bogeyman, or the Casper the Ghost, Gargamel. But technically, if you look into Gargamel, Smurfs was made by like a white supremacist, obviously. You can look that up. They told me that, so. But, question what these other people are saying, because I've tested the whole karma thing and all that, and they used the karma against me when I was investigating them and monitoring their activities. So what that means is that the people who are semi in control of this world are guiding people and lying to them. And why aren't they talking about why there's one of them in every one of our lives? Like, looking back at my life, they represent like 60 to 90% of the people in my life. And I'm like sick of light-skinned people being in my life. I don't want to be around them anymore because I've been around that group so much. I just run them out. I don't want to support them or their businesses anymore if I don't have to. And but it like keeps happening. Why did that happen? And I've seen everyone else, including my exes, who weren't the one I remember who wasn't part of that, end up in the same situation, children with them, and then, I don't know, it's kind of like everyone I know has one of them around them, at least. But we're told this is like a European nation, and, racist Swedes run America and stuff like that. When in fact it's been New World Order from the start, and George Washington was a Mason and all that. And so, why are they doing it? Look, they're still doing the same thing. They're still portraying themselves as white supremacists, as white people, when in fact Kyle Rittenhouse looks a little more like a white person who invaded the Middle East and, figured it out. They're trying to tell me like I'm in control of the world and all this, and I can't. So I'm going to fire yet. So don't believe them. What they do is they're really soft people. That's why they have to have the other races do their wars for them. They're really weak physically, and if they come out, like, that's all they have is breaking through the lie. Like, that's all they have is the lies they push and the mind control they push. It's literally their trait. Look at them like a massive multiplayer online game where you choose the faction, you choose the orcs, you choose the shaman, blah, blah, blah.